Old John Joseph was a man with two first names. They left him in the railroad yard when they took away the trains. And only one run a week comes on roaring down that line, so all he's got to worry about is time. I'd come by in the evening to hear about where he'd been, and he'd say, "Come on, sit down, kid, where shall I begin?" Well, I'd say, "You know my favorite, or you know I like the rest, but I love the way you tell me of your Corey the best." And then he'd turn back the years. She'd seem forever young, though the other stories changed as they rolled through his head. He'd say the same words about Corey just before he went to bed. And then he'd send me away, and he'd be smiling as he'd say, "Can't you see my Corey's coming? No more sad stories coming. My midnight moonlight morning glory's coming, aren't you, girl? And like I told you, when she holds you, she enfolds you in her world." I was quite surprised to find out all the places that he knew, and so I asked the townfolk if his stories were true. Well, he said old John was born here, he's lived here all his life. He's never had a woman, let alone a wife. And very soon you'll find out, as you check around, that no one named Corey's ever lived in this town. So I chatted the old man about the truth that I had heard. He smiled and said reality is only just the word. I came by one evening, but he did not hear my shout. I looked in the window and I saw the fire was out. When he would not wake up, I forced in the door, and I found that old John Joseph would tell stories no more. There was a scene at the graveyard, just three of us were there. Me and the gravedigger, we heard the parson's prayer. He said, "We need not grieve for this man, for we know that God cares." They put the cold dirt over him and left me on my own. And when at last I looked up, I saw I was not alone. Standing there in silence with a shawl around her head was a beautiful young woman. I remember what she said. She said, "Is that John Joseph there?" I nodded my head yes. That brought a soft smile to her. She said it's time he got some rest. So I said, "If you're a relative, he had a peaceful end." That's when she said, "My name is Corey. You can say I'm just a friend." So that's the old man's story. I'm glad you came tonight. You see, a busted down old railroad yard sure makes a lonely sight. You may wonder why a young man would work out here alone. Well, the job pays enough to keep some flesh on my bones. And I confess I get to missing the old man a bit. But there's one other reason I guess I should admit. Can't you see my Corey's coming? No more sad stories coming. The midnight moonlight morning glory is coming, aren't you, girl? And like I told you, when she holds you, she enfolds you in her world.